remain within the country's border. That is the regulation says, correct? So we can understand, from there we can understand the importance. If there is no data, there is nothing. Even you are recording it now, that is a data. If that data is not valid, then there is nothing. So that important is, it is like an oxygen now.
Yeah, and now why the African market and especially Ghana?
African market is the evolving market. So, then everything need to remain in Africa, correct? And this kind of infrastructures need to come into Africa. We cannot keep using the global infrastructure for this. So, for example, if you are staying in Accra, you need to have a house in Accra. You cannot have a house in Lagos. That's what it means.
And can you break us down the partnership that you've just entered into?
So if you look at Africa data centers, we are a Pan-African data center operator, currently operating in 3 countries, expanding into other locations. Same as Onix. Onix is operating in Ghana as well as coming in Dakar, Senegal. Correct? So this kind of partnership spreads more visibility and infrastructure spread across Africa much faster. And the alliances between these two ecosystem players is very important because we play a major role in the market.
So in terms of growth plans and strategy, where do you see this partnership in the foreseeable future?
In West Africa is its infancy right now in terms of digital transformation. And to put it in simple sense, banks have digital infrastructure. More and more banks have more and more transactions. Insurance companies, travel agencies, freelancers, gamers, social influencers. A lot of the data needs to be within the country. There's two reasons, or a few reasons for this. Number one, as Dr. Krish mentioned, data sovereignty. You want to keep your data within the country. Number two, performance. When you click on that video, you want it to come up immediately. It doesn't matter how many megabits or gigabits you have. If the server is not in the same country, it will be slow. So those are the advantages that we have by having that here. And as we're seeing, Africa is my home. I've been in Africa for 20 years, and I want to see Africa, especially Ghana, grow as a country and take advantage of this digital infrastructure. It's here. We have people saying when you visit the data center, it looks like a spaceship because you go inside it. I didn't know something like this existed. And it's the same quality that a company like Facebook or Google would host their data in. And that's available, surprisingly, in Ghana today.
Very well. In terms of
how could something like this have saved us when we had the fiber cut, the undersea fiber cut? If we had something like this working efficiently in Ghana, how would it have saved us from the challenges we faced?
A few ways. So first of all, with banking, if your bank had all their servers within a data center within the country, if you're accessing them, you're not going through the submarine cables. You can do your transactions, okay? In terms of some content, like if you go to YouTube, Google has caches of that information in country. So if you have that in the country in a data center, then those videos will also be made available. If you go to your school and you want to check your grades or your children's grades, if that server is within the data center, you can still check it. It's the submarine cable that's cut. It wasn't the infrastructure in Ghana. But unfortunately, because everything goes out, it was affected. We have to look at countries who have done and succeeded this. For example, South Korea, internet is very fast. You can cut all the cables and 80-90% of the people are still happy because all the content is within the country. So we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're trying to push the infrastructure in the way that creates a resiliency for the country, and in the same breath, it creates sovereignty from other infrastructure globally.
So in terms of penetration target, what numbers or percentage are you looking at? You are new, but are you looking at maybe a 10% growth in the foreseeable next 2-3 years, or
penetration
target?
It's a difficult number to say, only because the customers that go into a data center. A data center is like a hotel for servers. And not everybody is a server or a company has their own servers. So our customers are directly usually like content providers, banks, insurance companies, large organizations At the same time, one of these large organizations is like UniCloud. And what they do is they get that big infrastructure, cut it up into small pieces, and allowing small and medium-sized businesses to access that. So with those two combinations, that penetration is going to grow rapidly. If you have an email account, you need a website. If you have a website, you want to do e-commerce. Right? If you do e-commerce, you're going to store images, serving videos. All of that stuff can go onto a UniCloud.